While counseling on custody of a post-breakup pregnancy, I stumbled upon my attorney X. X locks eyes, whose baby is it? It's not yours anyway. X. One best friends forever Song is pregnant, afraid of being pestered by the ex, and want to clarify the custody matter. I had no choice but to go. So I went to a law firm called Shang. Which is the best lawyer you have here? I asked the receptionist. The receptionist smiled and said, Miss, please register. After registering, I was taken to the top floor. The man knocked 3 times and left, leaving me to go in on my own. When the door opened, a man was writing with his head down. He looked familiar. I walked over to him. Hello, I'm... The moment the other party raised his head, the words that were on the edge of my mouth instantly disappeared, and I choked on my saliva and coughed out. Shang. Huainan. How is it him? It's really a narrow road. When Shang Huainan saw me, he was also slightly stunned, and then pointed to the chair opposite him. Sit. The moment he opened his mouth, it was his tone of command. This problem hasn't changed at all, and it's annoying to listen to. I will not sit. Shang Huainan, then you must not sit. I sat down on my butt. I'm about to sing against him. Just looking at the slightly rising corners of his mouth, why do I feel as if I've been set up? Shang Huainan spoke faintly. What do you want counseling on? Say it. I slightly raised my chin. I got pregnant after breaking up, and when the child is born, whose custody is it? Shang Huainan looked at me. As a professional lawyer, he listened to my consultation and asked a very professional question. Whose child is it? Professional my ass. He was staring at my stomach. He didn't think I was pregnant, did he? I silently straightened my back. It's not yours anyway. Shang Huainan laughed. That's natural. We've been broken up for 2 years. It's impossible for me to conceive in space, and it's also impossible for you to be pregnant with a Naja. This person's mouth was still as bad as ever. If you can't answer my questions, find another lawyer to take me in. Custody generally goes to the woman, provided, of course, that she has the ability to raise the child, that is, a job, savings. Shang Huainan said this and looked me up and down. You should be fine. I stood up my chest. I would have had no problem. But I was relieved when he said that. I stood up. Thank you, I'm leaving. Aha. Shang Huainan faintly answered. I had walked to the door when he added, if there is a lawsuit, remember to come to me. I turned back. He gave me a businesslike smile. For the sake of old acquaintances, patronize me. Sure. I gave him a flashing fake smile and headed out. Once outside, I let out a long breath of relief. The ex-meeting, I had one for now. After all, I had it in my stomach. That's what Shang Huainan thought. I called Song and told her the result of my consultation. I saw Shang Huainan. You say coincidence, the lawyer I consulted is him. His firm even opened here. Song. So what about custody? Generally, it goes to the woman, unless she is incapable of raising the child, or is a gambler, drug addict, or whatever. That's a relief. Okay, you don't have to worry about my business, just hurry up and prepare for your big battle with your ex. Song hung up the phone after saying that. She really does understand me after all. 2. If you let that see it, just say that you're pregnant. I accompanied Song to the maternity checkup, and she told me this 100,000 times. Are all mothers so nagging? I know, I'm not a fish, I only have a 7-second memory. I was a bit impatient. It's not true that fish only have a 7-second memory, but you do have a 7-second memory. Song had a tone of I'm very unreliable. I'm not going to help her anymore. When I arrived at the hospital, after a series of checks, everything was normal. I held Song. Are you really going to give birth to the baby? It's not easy to be a single mom. Song looked at me and didn't say anything. While walking, she suddenly pulled out her hand to support me. Before I could react, Song's ode child Den ex Guan Chao's bitchy voice rang out. Isn't this my ex-baby? How to run this place to come? Song pinched my waist behind me. I immediately cooperated. I'm pregnant. Song came to accompany me for my maternity checkup. You're pregnant? Guan Chao stared at my stomach. Song went up and shone a big forced pocket on his head. Are you okay? Staring at a girl's stomach. Guan Chao looked at me in confusion. How did you get pregnant? Asexual reproduction? He's got a mouth on him. I pointed at him. Song, hit him for me. Song really gave Guan Chao another big pocket on the back of his head. Off. Guan Chao scratched the back of his head. Let's go, I'll send you back. No need, you'd better keep that car for your good colleague. Song said in a cold voice, holding me and left. Guan Chao followed on the side of the chatter. I told you. How many times? Just by the way, I drive her a ride. You do not want to I do not drive, so chicken hair a big point of the matter to the present. He rambled all the way to the car. After getting on the car, finally clean. Song has been cold and silent. I think it is better for them to split up. Guan Chao is really too annoying. The annoying Guan Chao suddenly called me at night and said with a smile, I know why you are pregnant. Ha ha. Are you sick? Come out and play, hurry up, the place is getting hot. Guan Chao said, and gave me an address. I love to join in the fun, and I will go if there is a party. Right away. I didn't know until I got to the bar that Song was there. Everyone was drinking, and she was drinking Yakult. I went over and sat next to her, leaning close to her ear and asked, "Why are you still hanging out with this bastard?" Song Song blinked at me. I didn't ask any more questions, and just picked up a glass of wine and was about to drink it, when a big hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. "What?" I turned my head to look over. "You don't know until you see it, and you're shocked when you see it. Shang Huainan. Why is he here?" Shang Huainan took the wine glass from my hand. "You can't drink when you are pregnant." After saying that, he raised his head and drank the wine in the glass. I turned around and asked Song Song using lip language, "What's going on?" Song Song pointed at Guan Chao. Guan Chao came over with a smile. Song Song moved aside, and he sat down next to me. "When did you make peace with Lao Shang?" He asked in my ear. "Why didn't you tell me? My mother keeps talking about finding a date for you, but you've already hooked up with Lao Shang. If I hadn't caught you pregnant, you wouldn't have admitted it, right?" I slapped Guan Chao on the back of his head. "Shut up." Guan Chao leaned over me and spoke to Shang Huainan. "Lao Shang, teach me. You can tame a troublemaker like Wen Yang and make her willing to have a child for you. You're really capable." He reached out and shook Shang Huainan's leg. "Hey, teach me. My girl is still making trouble with me." Shang Huainan pushed him away. "Be careful." Guan Chao finally reacted, sat up straight, and saluted to me. Sorry, I almost crushed Lao Shang's child." Song. I shouted angrily. "This guy is too talkative, someone needs to control him." Shang Huainan said, "The child is not mine." Guan Chao stood up and stared at me with wide eyes, as if he saw a monster. "Wen Yang, can you really reproduce asexually?" Guan Chao was dragged away by Song Song and never came back. Shang Huainan stared at me with deep eyes. "Tell me." "What?" "The child." He glanced at my belly. "Even Guan Chao doesn't know whose child you are in your belly. Who are you dating?" "We broke up, and he still wants to treat me like his child. Who does he think he is?" I was annoyed by this. He wanted to control me in everything. He was more nagging than my dad, so I broke up with him. Now he is getting worse. "Whose child do you care if I am pregnant?" Under the dim light, Shang Huainan's expression became heavy. He suddenly stood up, pulled me away, and took me all the way to his car. "What are you going to do?" I roared. Shang Huainan has a strong aura, but he never gets angry. He only asks me in his deep voice that can overwhelm people. "Whose child is it?" "It's not yours anyway, why do you care so much?" "Wen Yang, you are already 26 years old, not a child anymore." Shang Huainan began to preach again. "You have to be responsible for your own body and the little life in your belly. I ask you again, whose child is it?" I have a bad temper. Why am I not responsible for my own body? Why am I not responsible for the little life in my belly? Shang Huainan, you are a lawyer, don't you know how to be careful when you speak? Do you believe I will sue you for defamation? Shang Huainan tilted his head and looked at me with a heavy gaze. My arrogance is not so arrogant anymore. Anyway, I will be responsible for this child. How can you be responsible? He asked coldly. Be a single mother. Do you think a child born in an incomplete family will be happy? I was stunned. What he said seemed to make sense. I have to tell Song Song and ask her to think about it carefully. But given her and Guan Chao's enthusiasm, the child should not be born in a single-parent family. But Shang Huainan, what does this have to do with you? Are you interfering too much? Shang Huainan was silent for a moment and nodded. Yes, I shouldn't interfere. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and seemed very tired. 2 years have passed, and this face has not changed at all. It is still so beautiful. If it weren't for this face, I wouldn't have agreed to the blind date at once. So in the next 2 years, just because of this face, I was treated like a child by him for 2 years. I don't have the habit of eating breakfast, but he forced me to get up at 7 in the morning to eat breakfast. I had just graduated from graduate school and was looking for a job. Not only did he give me all his money, he also arranged a job for me. Isn't this the same as my parents? That job only takes 2 to 3 hours a day, and the rest of the time I sit there and daydream. I can even foresee how I will spend the next few decades. I said I didn't like it, but he forced me to do it. It was that boring job. I worked for 2 years and finally exploded, and finally resigned. When Shang Huainan scolded me, I proposed to break up. He still didn't agree. I cut it. What right did he have to disagree? Anyway, after a series of actions from me, he agreed to break up and went to another place. Now it seems that he hasn't changed at all in the past 2 years, and still treats me as his child. But we have no relationship now. I leaned over gently. Shang Huainan suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes were like an eagle, deep and sharp. What for? He asked in a hoarse voice. Shang Huainan, how about this? I give birth to the child and you raise it, so he will have a complete family. Of course, I said this on purpose to anger him. I don't believe that he won't lose his temper. In the end, he just stared at me without saying a word. This is also a kind of ability. I felt very frustrated and sat back. Shang Huainan's voice rang in my ears. Have you thought about it? What have you thought about? Let me be the father of the child. What do you think he means? I told my chief of staff Song Song exactly what Shang Huainan said. Song Song touched her chin and squinted her eyes. After a long time, she spoke. You are willing to be a father. Shang Huainan loves you deeply. Isn't it? I patted my thigh. I knew that this dog still misses me. Song Song came over and observed me carefully. What do you think? I frowned. What can I think? She suddenly raised her hand and pointed at my mouth. Tighten the corners of your mouth, and your teeth will be exposed in a while. Okay, I admit that I am very happy. But he hasn't changed at all. He still likes to control me. If I get back together with him, what's the point of breaking up before? Song Song nodded. That's true. She sighed in distress. What kind of fate do you think we have? You found someone who is related to your father, and I found someone who is related to my grandson. I tell you, if you find someone like Guan Chao, it will be even more troublesome. I still agree with this point. Even if I look for someone again, I won't find someone like Guan Chao. But you are not pregnant at all. How are you going to explain to Shang Huainan in a few months? Song Song asked, staring at my belly. Why should I explain to him? Then you brag that you are pregnant. If Shang Huainan knew that I was not pregnant at all, would he laugh at me? No, I have to hurry up and get pregnant. Song Song. I received a call from my mother, asking me to go home for dinner. I didn't expect it to be a Holman banquet. At this moment, I stood in the middle of the living room, and my parents sat on the sofa, looking at me sternly, as if I were the unforgivable criminal. Tell me, whose child is in your belly? I was shocked. How did you know? I reacted the next second. Who else could it be? Guan Chao. He is really a grandson. I gritted my teeth and closed my eyes. I'm not pregnant at all. Don't believe everything you hear. Is the child really not Huainan's? My mother's tone was full of hope. Guan Chao even told them that Shang Huainan had returned. This grandson. Mom, regardless of whether the child in my belly is Shang Huainan's, it's impossible for him and me. My father slapped his thigh. Tell the truth. Look, the truth has been blown out, right? Tell me. Whose child is it? In that case, Guan Chao, don't blame me for killing you. I'll tell you the truth. The child is Guan Chao's. That's the truth. Then my parents set up a Holman banquet for Guan Chao. After Guan Chao came, my parents beat him up with both men and women. Then, we were kicked out of the house together. My mother pointed at us and said, just do it. I want to see how you explain it to Song. Song. Guan Chao asked me crying, what nonsense did you say to uncle and aunt? I said the child is yours. Ah. Guan Chao covered his swollen mouth. Wen Yan, I have no grudges against you. Why do you want to hurt me like this? Who told you to talk nonsense in front of my parents? He pointed at me. Okay, very good. You wait. Looking at Guan Chao's back as he left angrily, I had a bad feeling. My right eyelid kept twitching all morning, and sure enough, something happened at noon. My supervisor called me to the office, and he threw a document at me. The sharp paper scratched my eye. Look at what shit you did for yourself? I frowned and picked up the document. It was the plan I made. This was not the first time the supervisor said my plan was shit. Is it really that bad? He was targeting me on purpose. I quit. Okay, I'll go back and revise it. I took the plan back to my workstation and didn't leave until after 11 o'clock in the evening. The next morning, Song Song came to me and I told him about it. Then I quit. Your family is not short of money. Do you have to suffer this grievance from that old bald donkey? This is not a matter of grievance. I must prove myself with my strength and slap him in the face. Otherwise, I will just leave. How cowardly is that? This is not my style. I am not a coward. You are the same, asking for trouble. How much is the job that Shang Huainan arranged for you? Do you know how many people are vying for it? You really don't know how lucky you are. Song Song complained. I stuffed a piece of bun into my mouth and said nothing. Guan Chao complained to me, saying that you framed him in front of his uncle and aunt. Song Song coughed lightly. He also said that he would take revenge on you. You are a rude person, you deserve it. I said vaguely with a bun in my mouth. How is he going to take revenge on me? Song Song shook her head. I don't know. When I was about to get off work, I suddenly received a call from Shang Huainan, saying that he was waiting for me downstairs. When the time came, I quickly packed up and got into his car. Why are you here? Shang Huainan glanced at me and started the engine. Let's go eat first. He took me to my favorite restaurant. I was really hungry, too, and I didn't care about keeping in shape, and I ate elegantly. Slow down. Shang Huainan pushed a glass of water in front of me. I didn't eat at noon. I'm starving. I drank a sip of water. What do you want to talk to me about? Let's talk after we finish eating. After eating, I wiped my mouth. Shang Huainan finally spoke. Wen Yan, let's get married. I'm glad I didn't drink water now, otherwise I would definitely choke to death. Get married? Don't you want to find a father for your child? I'll be the father of the child. Shang Huainan looked into my eyes. His expression was very serious and sincere. What is going on? Shang Huainan sighed. His tone was a little unfriendly. I really don't understand you. You go to Guan Chao, why can't you go to me? Ah, what? What? No need to say. That grandson of Guan Chao just told you that I racked my brains to find a father for my child, right? And I finally found him and wanted him to be the father of my child. This grandson, is this how he takes revenge on me? Shang Huainan, Guan Chao is Song Song's boyfriend. Even if we broke up, I can't find him, right? Who do you want to find? There has to be someone, right? Shang Huainan said in a low voice, speak. Here we go again. I frowned. Do you have to talk to me like this? How did I talk? Shang Huainan was silent for a moment, then chuckled. Do you think of me as my daughter? I know you always mind this, but when young, I tell you, until now, I don't think I'm wrong. So what you mean is that I'm wrong? His voice quickly calmed down. No one is right or wrong. Two people must get along when they are together, but I don't agree with you breaking up as soon as you are not happy. You mean it's my fault? I grabbed my bag and got up and left. 6 Shang Huainan chased me out. Wen Yan. I turned around. There is no child at all. I am not pregnant at all. Shang Huainan paused. It is Song Song who is pregnant. She was afraid that Guan Chao would snatch the child from her, so she asked me to consult a lawyer. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. You don't have to worry about my child being fatherless now, and you can put away your kindness. Kindness? Shang Huainan sneered. So, you think I am just kind, right? Shang Huainan left. Bang bang. Bang bang. This is the sound of my heartbeat, which is getting more and more intense. It's not kindness, it's that he still likes me. I told Song Song. She asked me, what about you? Me, I felt the deep emotion in my heart. I still like him too. Song Song said, I knew it. But I really hate him treating me like a child. I really can't stand it. In front of him, I always act like an ignorant child. This hurts my self-esteem. Song Song looked at me silently for a while, and suddenly asked me, have you seen Emma? What? I suggest you watch it. The male lead is like Shang Huainan, but the female lead is really too much. She always does wrong things and thinks she is right. But in the end, under the influence of the male lead, she grows up a little bit, and the two get married. What does she mean by this? Are you saying that I am too much and self-righteous? Song Song nodded calmly, a little bit. Shang Huainan never contacted me again. I learned from Guan Chao's grandson that he was on a business trip. I also took the time to read the book that Song Song recommended to me. I was so fed up with the heroine in the book. Am I like that too? Then wouldn't they be fed up with me too? How did Shang Huainan put up with me? He was really awesome. I told Song Song, I finished the book, but I absolutely won't admit that I'm as annoying as the heroine. She grew up later. Then I can grow up too. I stiffened my neck. I'm going to get Shang Huainan back now. Song Song. Are you serious? I nodded. Really, as real as pearl. I still liked Shang Huainan. To be precise, I've always liked him, and I've never let him go. But it's also true that I was fed up with him controlling me all the time, as if I had another father. After reading that book, I felt that there was nothing wrong with having another father. I acted like a spoiled child, and Shang Huainan couldn't do anything to me. So I took advantage of the weekend break and rushed to Shang Huainan's business trip location. I learned from Guan Chao's grandson the hotel where Shang Huainan was staying, and I also booked a room there, just for one day. I had my own plans. I met Shang Huainan that night. He was naturally surprised to see me. Why are you here? I just passed by. Are you alone? Which floor do you live on? Shang Huainan asked. He never let me stay in a hotel by myself before, just because I saw in the news that a woman who stayed in a hotel by herself got into trouble. I'm alone. Shang Huainan looked at me silently for a while. When will you go back? Not necessarily. Not necessarily? Oh, why are you asking so many questions? I stamped my feet and said coquettishly, well, since I'm here, of course I can only go back after I finish my business. Shang Huainan really didn't ask. He raised his hand to look at his watch and asked me again, have you eaten? I shook my head. He took me out for dinner. After dinner, I got his room number and went back to the room. Then I washed myself, put on sexy pajamas, put on a tweed coat, and went to find Shang Huainan. He had just finished his shower and was wearing a white plush bathrobe. What's wrong? Shang Huainan, I'm scared. I said in a pinched voice. He looked at me and let me in. Done. 7 I took off my clothes and put them on the sofa. When I looked up, I saw Shang Huainan looking at me with a complicated look. I felt a little guilty when he looked at me. What's wrong? You sleep on the bed. Shang Huainan was going to make a phone call. I need another quilt. Did he do it on purpose? I don't believe he can't see it, as he is usually so smart. I stepped forward to stop him. Okay? He looked at me inquiringly. I put my arms around his neck. Shang Huainan, have you missed me in the past 2 years? Let go. He whispered. I deliberately raised my chest and rubbed him. I miss you so much. Wen Yan. Shang Huainan sighed. Stop it. I'm not making a fuss. Then what are you doing? Can't you see it? I pulled down the straps of my pajamas. What about now? Do you see it? Or do you insist that I take it all off? Shang Huainan swallowed in his throat. So? It's so boring. I sat down on the edge of the bed and bounced twice. You obviously still like me, and I still like you. Why are you being so pretentious? What's wrong with liking you? You don't like the way I like you. I looked up and looked at him eagerly. Then can't you just ignore me? No, if you were someone else, I wouldn't care. He said firmly. I sighed silently. I just want to do what I like to do. I didn't stop you from doing what you like. Shang Huainan sat down next to me. It's just that sometimes you have to admit that I am 6 years older than you and have a clearer understanding of this society. Although I didn't want to admit this, what he said was indeed true. The job he arranged for me was really good, at least much better than my current job. I am so busy now, but I still have to be scolded every day. Sometimes I even doubt my ability. I want to prove myself, and this process is very difficult. Shang Huainan just doesn't want me to suffer this process. I am doing what I like now, but am I happy? It seems not. Shang Huainan stroked my cheek gently, still as gentle and warm as before. I got into his arms. He hugged me for a while, and suddenly let me go to put on clothes. What are you doing? Going out to buy something. What do you want to buy suddenly? He came back soon. Ah. He probably doesn't want to be like Song Song and Guan Chao, who had a baby before getting married. Shang Huainan touched my belly and asked with a smile, are you really not pregnant? I glared at him, who am I pregnant with? Stop talking nonsense. He was really obedient. Really no nonsense. So you came here just for this? Shang Huainan asked me with a smile while eating the next morning. I got angry when I saw his cunning expression. Dog man. I don't know who it is, he is so sanctimonious and rejected me, a hypocrite. Shang Huainan laughed out loud, that's really not the case. You keep saying it, how do I know if you will regret it? Yes, it's all my fault, I'm not wrong at all, okay? I rolled my eyes, I wouldn't have come if I had known. Look, I'm right? Shang Huainan smiled helplessly, and was a little doting. I stiffened my neck, is it not okay for me to just say it casually? You like to pick on my little braids so much, I will have to draft my words in advance when I talk to you in the future, so that I won't make any mistakes, right? Shang Huainan handed me a glass of milk, drink it. Yes, Dad. What did you say? Shang Huainan's eyes lit up slightly. This person is really pervert. What's wrong with me? Anyway, you are a pervert. Shang Huainan's business here is not over yet, and I still have to go to work, so I can only go back by myself. He saw me off at the high-speed railway station. Call me when you get off the train, don't go back to your own place tonight, go home, and call me when you get home. I know, I've said it so many times. I pushed him away, go away. Shang Huainan smiled, then I'm leaving, bye. Hey, wait a minute. I grabbed him and tiptoed to kiss him. Seeing Shang Huainan's red ears, I smiled with satisfaction and got in the car. He stood there and smiled at me. I blew him a kiss. The car started, and Shang Huainan gradually disappeared from my sight. He bought a ticket to take me in, but it was so long. But I still felt sweet in my heart. Although 2 years have passed, he hasn't changed at all, which is great. So why should I waste 2 years? On Monday at work, I was scolded by the old bald donkey again. I was wondering why he always looked down on me. Why are you glaring at me? Are you not convinced? If you are not convinced, you can be the supervisor and fire me. Does he think I don't want to? You should stay in the supervisor's position first. I'm still young and not in a hurry. I'll take the plan back and change it. I hugged the folder and went out. Not angry. And Shang Huainan. I was happy when I thought about reconciling with him, and I could digest any anger I had. I stayed up late again to change the plan, but this time I stayed up late at home. The doorbell rang suddenly. I ran out, looked out through the peephole, opened the door immediately, and threw myself into Shang Huainan's arms. Go down, I'm cold all over. Shang Huainan came in and closed the door, looking down at my feet. You don't wear shoes or socks, go put them on. He scolded me as soon as he came back. Why are you still not asleep so late? He asked, his serious tone seemed to be blaming me. I put on my slippers, then why are you here so late? You didn't even call me. What if I fell asleep? I just came to see you. I saw you had the light on. Shang Huainan took off his coat. Are you working overtime? Yeah, I'm working on a plan. I pulled Shang Huainan into the bedroom and pointed at the computer. It's almost done. Take a look. I studied interior design. Although Shang Huainan studied law, he could give some advice. It's not just interior design. We also take on some company and shopping mall activities. My design is for a large auction venue. Shang Huainan took a look and pointed out the problem clearly. Your design is a bit distracting. For a venue like this, the focus is of course on the display of the auction items, not the venue itself. Don't mention it. He really understands it even though he's an outsider. Does the supervisor mean the same thing? Why didn't he tell me directly? I revised it according to the advice provided by Shang Huainan and showed it to the supervisor the next day. After reading it, the supervisor looked at me again, somewhat unconvinced. Did you really do this? Of course. The supervisor put the plan on the table. Xiao Wen, do you know what your biggest problem is? It's that you are too superficial. You always like to do some fancy things and completely ignore the essence of things. Superficial? I am superficial. You did a good job this time. Keep it up. You will be a supervisor soon. The supervisor finally smiled at me. He was happy from the bottom of his heart. So, Supervisor, you kept scolding me before and refused to point out where I was wrong. Do you want to find your own shortcomings? What else? Is it interesting for me to target a little girl like you every day? That's true. I will never scold him as an old bald donkey again. Thank you, Supervisor. 9 Back at my workstation, I immediately sent a WeChat message to Shang Huainan saying that my plan was approved. Shang Huainan sent a congratulations emoticon. That's it? It's really boring. Aren't you happy for me? I asked in a voice message. Shang Huainan, how else do you want me to be happy for you? I got this plan, there will be a red envelope, let's have dinner together to celebrate, and then you give me a small reward. Shang Huainan, okay. After dinner in the evening, on the way back, Shang Huainan asked me, what reward do you want? I leaned over and whispered something in his ear. Shang Huainan was unwilling, is this a small reward? Song Song and Guan Chao reconciled. Guan Chao, although he is stupid, he is still stubborn, but he is really good to Song Song. Since he knew that Song Song minded him sending his female colleague home, he now doesn't even let me get in his car. I said to Shang Huainan, Guan Chao is really too much. He bullied me every day when you were not here for 2 days. Really? Can you still be bullied? Shang Huainan joked. Hey, you are such a person. When I complain to you, you must stand by me without hesitation, no matter if I am right or wrong. Shang Huainan smiled and nodded, this is natural. I will teach him a lesson when I see him again to vent your anger. He pulled me into his arms and said, let me talk to you about business. Yes. Tomorrow I will go to see my uncle and aunt, and then the two families will have a meal together, and we will settle the matter. He looked very serious. Is this a proposal too? Me? Not romantic at all. You want to marry me like this? No way. Shang Huainan. Anyway, I don't care. There must be a proposal ceremony. You kneel down, and then I refuse. You continue, and I refuse again. I will agree on the 3rd time. Shang Huainan. He nodded, okay, I'll listen to you. Also, after we get married, you must listen to me in everything. You are not allowed to control me anymore. You must think of me as the master in everything, and you must praise me every day. You never praised me before. Shang Huainan recalled, I never praised me before. You? No, you always say I'm ignorant, you have to make up for it, otherwise I won't marry you. He smiled and nodded, okay, I'll make it up for you, but I have a condition. I crossed my arms and said proudly, you speak first. He looked serious, no. Matter what happens in the future, you can't mention the word break up. Shouldn't you say divorce after getting married? Shang Huainan pursed his thin lips into a straight line and looked at me with the eyes of a grudge. I just didn't think for a moment, who would mention divorce for no reason. I won't say it. I don't believe you. Then what do you say? Shang Huainan thought for a while, as a punishment, I will spank you every time you say divorce in the future. That's domestic violence. Shang Huainan suddenly laughed. Come here. He waved at me. No matter how I looked at him, I felt that he had bad intentions. What are you doing? Come here. I lingered over. He whispered in my ear. Shang Huainan, you've become a bad person in the past 2 years. 10 Shang Huainan and I got married. It was so quick. Because of the masks, we didn't have a big wedding. We just got the marriage certificate and invited relatives and friends to have a meal together. Life after marriage didn't change much. It was just 2 years of peace and quiet, and there was another person who loved to control me. My mother said that I am a person who is not very decent. She said that I need someone like Shang Huainan to control me. This is called one thing conquers another. My mother-in-law said that Shang Huainan refused to go on a blind date, but he agreed immediately after seeing me. He did not do anything in the 2 years after the breakup. I didn't expect that he would reconcile with me and get married directly. This is fate. I think Shang Huainan can control me, and in fact, I am the only one who can control Shang Huainan. Song Song and Sun Chao are also married. If they don't get married, Song Song will be pregnant. Shang Huainan and I have agreed not to have children first, and he said he would listen to me. Half a year of peaceful days passed like this, and suddenly one day, the supervisor called me to the office. Take a look. I took the tablet computer handed to me by the supervisor and took a look. Aren't these all my designs? What are you going to do? The supervisor asked. Without even thinking, I said, of course, I'll file a lawsuit. The supervisor suddenly remembered something. By the way, your husband is a lawyer, right? Yes. That's perfect. I heard the boss say the other day that our cooperation with Chenshin Law Firm is about to expire and we don't plan to renew it. You can recommend your husband to the boss, right? Supervisor, you're so nice. I was so touched that I said what was in my heart, I'll never call you an old bald donkey again. Supervisor. We stared at each other for a while, and the supervisor was the first to speak to break the silence. Silence, same here, I often call you a bastard behind your back. I touched my nose awkwardly, well, supervisor, I'm going to go find the boss first. Yeah. The supervisor said again, by the way, I won't care about the infringement. You can discuss it with your husband. But in fact, this kind of thing happens frequently. At most, they will apologize and fine you a few dollars. I think you should know that as a lawyer's family member. I know, supervisor, then I'll go out first. I went directly to the boss. After telling him about Shang Huainan, the boss immediately wanted to meet with Shang Huainan. I acted as a middleman. After the two met, they had a very pleasant conversation and soon reached a cooperation. Shang Huainan also praised me. My wife has really grown up and become sensible. She can even help her husband introduce business. Listen. This is a lot of praise. Is this a praise for me? Stop your glib talk. I want to tell you something serious. I told Shang Huainan about the copyright infringement. I'll take this case, but how much do you want to pay? Shang Huainan stared at me with a fiery look. I understand. I pulled my suspender pajamas down. Okay. TSK, you bastard, I can't charm you. The next day, I went to find the person who plagiarized me. He was still talking to me. Ha ha. I turned around and called Shang Huainan. Shang Huainan walked over and stretched out his hand to the man. Hello, I'm Shang Huainan, Wen Ya's husband. Wrong. I tugged at his clothes. Shang Huainan, I'm Wen Ya's representative lawyer. Oh, that's right.